Hey everyone, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is probably the biggest mystery of the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, that is after Avengers 4, of course. But we have an update on the production and a possible new director.
Sam?
Sam? Is it Sam?
Sam
Director confirmed? We'll talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy, but first, welcome to New Rockstars News, everyone. It's our deep dive into all the biggest stories this week, so we're also going to talk about a casting update for Star Wars Episode 9, Alec Baldwin joining and leaving the Joker movie, Oscar Isaac in talks for the Matt Reeves Batman movie, and Venom as a trilogy. Who saw that coming? I'm your host, Erik Voss. Joining me at the table are Maude, Garrett, Filup, Molina, and Sam Bashor.
Hello.
I was having a good day until I found out about the Venom trilogy.
We'll get to that and more.
Now you're having a great day. Let's get started actually with the top story, the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now this week we learned that production for the movie was officially delayed with the pre-production crew dismissed by the studio until they figure out who will direct the movie. Of course, writer-director James Gunn was fired by Disney in July after a smear campaign by an alt-right troll freaked people out over some old jokes that Gunn had long since apologized for and moved on from. I guess it was some weird revenge for Roseanne, which, doesn't make sense to me, but that's how the world works. Let's look at this week. There was a report that Disney was meeting with Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi to possibly direct a future Marvel film. The report didn't say which movie. It could be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which would be like the next thing that they don't have a director for on their docket. Or it could just be some other Marvel Phase 4 movie that we don't really know about yet. It was reported that Marvel still intends to use James Gunn's script for Volume 3, which also means his soundtrack will probably be James Gunn's as well, since he writes his scripts around his music choices. And he knew what songs he wanted for Volume 3 last summer. He actually plays the songs on set when he shoots his movies. So cool. Whatever your feelings are on James Gunn, the way the industry credits work, he's still going to be listed as a writer and a producer for Volume 3. And that also includes Avengers 4, since they used his creations. He's going to be a producer in the credits on Avengers 4. From what we can tell, the studio still intends on hitting a May 2020 release date, and based on what Gunn has said about the movie's plot, Volume 3 will conclude the story of this iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy and help catapult both old and new Marvel characters into the next 10 years and beyond. Those are his words. Now, we could guess that the Guardians of the Galaxy lineup, at least whichever of them survive from Avengers 4, will return, and that Adam Warlock, remember, who was teased in the post-credits scene of Volume 2, will probably play some role in the story. And just coming out today, Drax actor Dave Bautista, he's probably been the most outspoken of the cast throughout this story, defending James Gunn. This week, he shared a tweet calling out Mike Cernovich, who is that troll conspiracy theorist on Twitter who really led the smear campaign against Gunn. The Nun, the movie. Cernovich made a video, and you could see it in a video made by Vic Berger, and he was bragging about creating false narratives to tear down innocent people. That's just kind of what he does, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care whether it's true or not. Batista said the Volume 3 situation might actually change the characters' arcs in Avengers 4, which is still going through reshoots. He said it's kind of a strange situation to be in now, where we've lost our director for Guardians. It's on permanent hold for now, and that may make a difference in what they do with our characters in Avengers 4. To be honest with you, right now I don't really know, but I know I'm in Avengers 4. I've shot most of it already. I do have 2 days of reshoots, but other than that, I have some really great scenes that I hope they use, but I guess it remains to be seen what they'll do with the characters. So guys, assuming that they won't rehire James Gunn, which is what they've said, which directors besides Taika Waititi would you like to be considered to take over Volume 3? What's the smoothest way for this to go?
Sprung that question on us.
It's all on our minds.
I've got 2 trains of thought that doesn't actually involve talking about another director apart from Taika, if you'll indulge me.
Go for it.
Okay, cool.
Indulge.
2 things. 1, Disney, learn about the fact that when you have a lot of tumultuous news and firings and rehirings around a movie that everyone's anticipating, it doesn't actually do well in the box office. On 3, 1, 2, 3, Solo. Seriously.
I thought we were going to say Justice League.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Disney
I mean,
made that
this-
happen. Yeah.
But
Sorry, Solo totally kind of just blipped, so I forgot.
Meg has made more in their opening box office weekend.
That
or
girl,
more.
Meg.
You remember Meg?
She made more money opening weekend of her prom night.
But
Meg
not
with
opening
the
weekend,
good
but I think
hair.
all up in
Yeah.
overall box office sales. So
Yep.
I just wish Disney would just treat it with a little bit more respect and not have something like a alt-right, whatever it is, party who just want to tear down things. I don't want them to win. And I have a feeling that this is going to just put an ugly dent in all the production. Number 2, I think that if they're going to hire anyone, it's going to be Taika Waititi. He's the only person that kind of has that injected successful humor. I think Thor Ragnarok's one of my favorite Avengers movies that have been there. I just had a blast. Maybe that's because he has Australian Kiwi humor, which is my humor, finally. But I would love to see what he could do. I think he's the only one that could really do it justice. I knew someone would.
Couldn't help it.
He could do great, but it's also like, other people technically could do it. You know who shouldn't do it? Ron Howard. but please don't have Ron Howard do it. But obviously they want to.
We're begging.
Taika.
Don't.
Yeah. He's just like waiting in the wings. I'm here.
Hey guys.
I'm always
I
here.
heard you needed a director. Is that true?
How about a narrator?
Imagine he's a leprechaun that comes on set.
Just because he's got red hair.
But I think, and here's frustration. I think Joss Whedon could do it, but a lot of people are mad at Joss Whedon because they think that he's to blame for Justice League, and it's like the Snyder Cut is not. We've seen Zack Snyder movies; they're not amazing.
He doesn't have that particular sense of humor.
Yeah, so I think that movie is a mess for different reasons. But Joss Whedon, like full force, is a lot like what Thor Ragnarok was. If you watch the later seasons of Buffy or of Angel, it was like those kinds of situations with like constant like jokes and like, but yet they still were like very high stakes. Like a lot of people did die. So I don't know. Joss Whedon would be cool, but he has his own problems. Get it?
She likes prime ribs.
Yeah. And then, but my real one is like the no-brainer. It's always the easiest answer to give in Hollywood. Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Give those guys more work, right? Because that's my thing. I love Taika Waititi. He'd be my number one choice as well, just because we saw he's a proven choice, right? We saw what he did with Thor Ragnarok. He knows how to blend these worlds and kind of capture the humor that James Gunn seemed to be going for with the Guardians movies.
But not the heart.
And I would say not necessarily the visuals, because I love Thor Ragnarok. It seemed like the first time Taika was taking on a big property that like was adapting visuals and trying to create this kind of magic on screen. And while they got the tone, it was colorful. I think it was more colorful in the tone and the humor than it was like in the actual action directing of the fight sequences. I love the gladiator fight, but other than that, all the action fight scenes kind of disappear in my memory.
What? The last one? Wait,
the
lightning?
What are you?
The one slow motion Zack Snyder style shot. I would
Snyder
argue.
vision.
Yeah, I mean,
with humor.
it's a great movie. I don't want to take it away, but it makes the movie an A-.
No, but it's you're right. Those differences are we've talked about the difference between Daredevil and Iron Fist. It's like the same fight style basically, and yet like Daredevil we're all like blown away, and I can still remember specific Daredevil like fight moves. This one,
trust me, I remember that one.
Yeah, the guy goes to hit him and he flips the guy backward. But and then Iron Fist, I don't remember any.
So
of that.
if big difference, even though Taika I think would do a fantastic job, I'd love someone like Lord and Miller, Drew Goddard maybe, who we know with like the X-Force movie.
Goddard never gets like he's always so close to getting his own Marvel movie to direct, and it always just pancakes. I would probably go with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, even though Taika's great. I'm just picking somebody else I'm just siding with that because you guys went with Taika. Phil Lord and Chris Miller do have heart in their movies. It's different. Like I remember that the Lego movie actually, they had like this kind of like nebulous like companies are bad, blah, blah, blah. But basically it just whittled down to like this actually like pretty clear cut lesson that I'm blanking on right now. So that's obviously good.
It's cool to be a kid. Okay, no. Everything is awesome.
Being in original, being yourself is okay, but like building up your own creativity is a good thing. But something like that.
Actually, I'm going to help you make a better point.
There you go.
The fact that Chris Miller and Phil Lord have worked really, really closely with Chris Pratt. And they would basically have his character, but as Star-Lord.
Yeah.
So everything is rad.
And they build out like they're good at building out worlds, and their humor's really solid as well. Just get somebody who's got a snappy ear for music. Zach Braff, if you want to. You guys ever listen to the Scrubs soundtrack? It's great. There you go.
You guys ever feel feelings like a Zach Braff movie can make you do?
Hey, and if Zach Braff does it, he can crowdfund it on Kickstarter, so you pay twice to see the movie.
There you go. $300 million Kickstarter campaign.
You guys are pretending like Scrubs ain't one of the best shows that's ever been made.
I'm not hating.
I don't have to pretend.
Guy love is all it is. I get it. Yeah.
I liked the Shins before the movie that came out to put him on a mainstream platform.
Well, I was a child, so I didn't know.
Some of us were born post 2010.
I think you guys bring up a good point that it is about the team and the ensemble, right? Because that's what James Gunn did a really good job of in the first Guardians, and continuing in the second is like cultivating this chemistry between characters that normally on their own wouldn't necessarily be developed. He kind of had to, like, the Guardians of the Galaxy comics that he was adapting weren't really a huge franchise, and he kind of established this team that we all care weirdly about. You know, who of us 10 years ago would have been like, yes, the Guardians of the Galaxy is a team that I want to like sit down with for 2 hours. I don't even know the name.
My Tiny Raccoon Man is the favorite.
But I think what is going to be a big challenge for whoever takes this over, if they intend on using Gunn's script, you're going to have to bring in a director who can kind of create that sense of synergy,
camaraderie,
working from someone else's script. Because a lot of the directors we mentioned are kind of auteurs. They are accustomed to having control over their own story, breaking the story, writing their own scripts.
I think that is what happened with Phil Lord and Chris Miller on Solo, where they were writing off of a Kasdan script, and the Kasdan father and son team are like, yeah, they're like amazing screenwriters. We totally get it, but they do not write in the Phil Lord, Chris Miller style. And their choice on that was like, well, the script is really just a set of guiding principles, right? And it turned out, no, it's
blueprints that you need to follow.
Yeah,
at least a bit more.
Yeah, we'll see.
That sounds boring.
So is the movie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, let us know who you would like to see take over Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's okay if you want that person to look a lot like James Gunn and have his name on his driver's license.
And point out the moment that Sam caught his posture a second ago.
My torso got twice as long.
It was so it was embarrassing. Like, all right, here I am.
It was not
I didn't know
subtle.
my shirt was that long.
Long. All right, let's move on to this week's trivia question.
Yay!
Oh, this is a new one here. Okay, the question is, what was the name of Drax actor Dave Bautista's first wrestling character? That's a fun question. All right, all of our answers are here in the bucket, and I guess Drax is in this picture, but he's blending in so perfectly with the background, I don't see him anywhere. Later in the episode, we'll reveal the answer to the trivia question, and the closest answer, as decided by our judges, will do our sign-off goodbyes. Meanwhile, the loser will be inducted into our GIF of Shame Club. Stay tuned for that later.
Shame.
It'll be a hoot. Okay, Star Wars Episode 9 released some big updates this week. We learned that Matt Smith from Doctor Who and The Crown on Netflix will be joining the cast in an unknown role, along with Dominic Monaghan from The Lord of the Rings and the show Lost. He'll actually reunite with director J.J. Abrams, and they'll join newcomers like Kerry Russell and Billy D. Williams, who reprised Lando Calrissian. And this week, Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron described the Resistance in Episode 9 as guerrilla fighters, adhering closer to something like the Revolutionary War fighters, or even the guerrillas in Cuba with Che Guevara and Fidel Castro, and all these guys living in the mountains, coming down to do some attacks, and then going back and trying to hide from the empire of the United States in that context.
Hello.
Yeah.
That's us.
The United States.
Oh,
Yes.
that's us.
How dare you?
She's like, hello.
Yeah.
Sam,
Yeah.
not all of us.
Oh.
That's true.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Confederate states. I don't know. Okay, it's actually, he said the resistance is kind of ragged at this point, and you hear stories with like George Washington as a general where like lots of people died based on their orders, but that is part of leadership and that push and pull in the fight of figuring out what is the way to move forward. So it sounds like Star Wars Episode 9 is actually set to release on December 20th, 2019. Are you guys excited? It sounds like the news coming out about this movie is all been good. It's all been like exciting.
Can we talk about how crazy Matt Smith's chin is? It's
Oh,
insane.
you wanna
It's
talk
like
about
he's
his
a
chin?
statue.
Doing a
that
chin
came to
down?
life.
No.
Chin breakdown?
So, guys, I was excited about this news, and then someone tweeted me going, Matt Smith has no eyebrows. And
He
ever
doesn't.
since
Don't point it out.
It
He
did. It
doesn't
wrecked
have
my
any.
day, and now I want you to suffer with me. Show him again. Show him again. It's cutting off. Where are they? Where did
Maybe
they go?
Drax is his eyebrows.
He got drunk one night, and someone shaved them off.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it's in front of his ear.
But I'm excited about Matt Smith.
Real
really-
fans won't point that out.
This is really obvious, right? Who these two are playing? Or here's my guess. At
Brothers?
least, right?
Oh,
No.
Knights of Ren!
I don't agree. I think on the left, I'm just so clearly seeing like some like grizzled, poor, not doing great kind of guy, which also Dominic Monaghan has like not had the best career since Lost. He's had a little bit, but he plays like he plays grimy pretty often.
He was in the Wolverine Origins movie. Thank you very much.
What was he in
He
You're
there?
had
welcome very much.
lightning powers.
But yeah, he just feels like somebody who'd be part of the resistance and be like underground. And then this is the most imperial looking
Yes.
mother father
Yeah.
I've ever seen. Like this guy's a Nazi.
He's going to be a villain.
Space Nazi.
I
Space
feel
Nazi.
like with a little bit of CGI work, you could get maybe Jar Jar actually settled down with
Stop it.
more of a human
Stop.
girl, and they
Stop
had
it.
a baby that had Jar Jar like
Stop it.
qualities. What is it? What's
Sam,
that?
I'm not even going to entertain that.
They're just saying it could happen.
I'm liking this fan
Girl Jar?
fiction.
Thank you.
I wanna hear
Imagine just a
more.
little flappy ears on that boy.
Girl Jar Binks.
Lisa trying my hardest to make money for the family.
Other people are saying that maybe Matt Smith could be playing Admiral Thrawn, and if you don't know who he is, he is one of the characters that actually survived Legends. Like it was originally a story when the original trilogy was out, and that's it. And he had a few books about him, and he's actually made the jump into canon.
And he's in Rebels, right? He was on
Yes, so
Rebels.
he's the blue admiral who works for the Imperials, and he and his race, basically, they're very clever. They're like strategists.
It's like,
to the
so that
team.
son of Jar Jar still lines up. It's,
Son of Jar Jar.
Thrawn would be interesting. It would set him apart from Hux too, because if he's just another Imperial and he kind of looks like what's his
you
name?
recast Donald Gleason with Matt Smith, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, but if he's blue, he blew himself.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about Kerry Russell. I'm going through the Americans right now, and damn, she's such a good actress.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, it's super violent, and man, the characters are not necessarily good people.
Maybe I'm secretly Russian also.
Kerry Russell has played this great character of like, you don't agree with what she's doing, but you get that she believes in it, and so you kind of like get her motivation, and so you're not like mad at her. You're just like, man, it's tough. It's tough to be in your situation.
Yeah,
honestly.
to move to New York to chase after a guy. Felicity, get it together.
Nope, not talking about Felicity.
I'm always talking about Felicity.
She's Ray's mom, yeah?
She's
maybe, yeah.
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. Yeah. But
you gotta do it.
Ethan, Erik. Oh boy, it's hard to look at.
Oh, did you remember
Another
the video I sent you?
What is the? Let us know in the comments below. What is the sound effect of Felicity's eye jutting out during?
It's like a weird little whiz. It goes
because it's the explosion right inside her head.
Yeah, or you hear like a charge, like a defibrillator.
I love that movie. It's great.
Okay, the upcoming Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, directed by Todd Phillips, had an interesting casting story this week. Alec Baldwin was initially announced to join the cast as Thomas Wayne, father to Bruce Wayne, and to take on the role that some described as a billionaire urbanite, not too different from the roles Baldwin usually plays. But then, in an interview with USA Today, Baldwin announced that he would actually not be playing the part, citing scheduling conflicts and saying, quote, "I'm sure there are 25 guys who can play that part." And production of the movie is set to begin on September 10th. What do you guys think happened?
You did take out one descriptor that was the big headline, was that it was Trump-like, and that was the big thing. And so, and then it was this weird exchange of interviews that happened. It was like Alec Baldwin, Thomas Wayne. Alec Baldwin, Trump like Thomas Wayne. Then he in an interview was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then like within like an hour, it was like, and he's exited the movie. It was like ding, ding, ding.
Wow.
And then it was over. And it
I didn't hear that Trump like thing.
That was a big headline that I saw.
I know that Alec Baldwin hates playing Trump. He's been pretty obvious about that on his SNL performances. Like,
he
even
does
though
a really good job.
he does fine, but honestly, it's just like a miserable role to play, and it's like, you know, it's to be that person is probably fairly.
It's got to be hard for him to sit in the makeup chair,
especially like people might know that Alec Baldwin is like
Yeah.
famously like a Democrat and like a hyper liberal or whatever. So even just to like look at that guy and be that guy is probably pretty tough on him. But also, that's not Thomas Wayne at all.
Yeah, Thomas Wayne's supposed to be a really nice guy, like a benefactor, a doctor.
Yeah, specifically he's like a doctor who was rich, and like so, and he held on to like both of those things. He wanted to help people, but also be rich.
But it depends on what the story is, because sometimes usually he's tied with mafia as well. Like there's always like ties back.
There has been, but
there's one weird iteration where he's like tied to helping Nazis get to America too. There's like a bunch of different iterations that you could do.
For
not the popular
justice.
version of the character.
Yeah, but also, I mean, there's the version where, in Flashpoint, right, with Thomas Wayne as Batman, and that I always thought like, what's his face, Negan. Like could have played like such a great version of that,
which he did. I mean, he didn't play that version.
But he
but
if he
played
that version. So that's the angle I think would be cool. Is like if you want to make him grizzled and like almost Batman-like himself, that's cool. Do we need Trump in a movie?
He's great in Home Alone too.
He's good in that Pizza Hut commercial.
Kevin
from the
McAllister had to find
Kevin
the concierge.
McAllister,
Yeah.
Get the hell out of my hotel.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like this cast already has like a lot of supporting parts, right? Robert De Niro is going to be part of this, and Zazie Beetz.
Weird.
And yeah, I'm still trying to make out what this movie's going to be. I heard some description that it's going to be like a take on the Joker as an '80s failed comedian. Like
I just don't want like it's so cool that it's not. There's no like official canon exactly of what it is, and instead they're like, but what if there was? And what if it's the Joker played by someone you don't like?
Yeah.
And what if it's
I like
not
Joaquin
related to
Phoenix
Batman?
in the part. Yeah.
What's wrong with
I'm
Joaquin
walking
Phoenix?
here. I'm walking.
That
was a two-time joke because Robert De Niro is. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
Hey, show of hands, who actually is excited about this movie?
I'm excited about no movie.
Oh, there's a lot of people off camera who are not raising their hands too. Yeah.
There was an epic
No
eye roll
movies.
in there too.
I'm tired of
about the
movies.
I will say the most popular version of Joker's origin, which is the Killing Joke. I watched that movie, and it really is weird to see someone who is a mass murderer and a rapist and abuser, and then you try to feel for him because he had a bad day where he lost his job, and then he gets he does get bleached, and that's awful. But then it's no, one bad day, and you get to turn into this person. It's a weird lesson, and it's really stupid.
It's a little weird, but that's what I think is good about The Killing Joke, because Moore included that line of, if I had a past, it would be multiple choice. I think that's the version of the Joker where we did see a backstory, but then people walked away from it well, could we really trust him as a reliable narrator in that? And I think that's what Nolan used for the whole Dark Knight arc of the Joker, is he has a mysterious backstory. And I agree. I don't want a definitive backstory for the Joker.
We've always obsessed about the fact that the reason the Joker exists in that movie is not to be just another villain, right? It's we've had villains, we've had generally motivated villains. That idea of a man who just wants to watch the world burn, that's the idea of pure chaos. That to me is true to the Joker, which is why it's I actually don't need the pure force of chaos. I literally think of it as a force of nature, like a tornado entering. The tornado doesn't need motivation. It's one of the few times where I feel that way, but the Joker's one of the few characters that works that way.
I wouldn't mind if a tornado had motivation, though. Why are you here?
Just
to
mad at
avenge
Sam.
his father. Yeah.
8th grade. You remember? No, I was a little breeze.
What if a
Flirting with
tornado
the girl?
just wanted to dance? And that's just wind dancing.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
just
want to
beautiful.
dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat
Heat
with somebody.
Yeah. Let's move on to another update this week. Staying in the DC world, Oscar Isaac was reportedly approached by Warner Brothers for an undisclosed role in that forever upcoming Batman movie directed by Matt Reeves. Word is the studio plans to reach out to an A-list actor to play the villain, rumored to be the Penguin. Ooh. But, guys, with Ben Affleck probably not playing Batman, it couldn't hurt to let Oscar Isaac try on the cowl just for kicks, right?
He's got a chin.
He's a beautiful man.
He's great.
Mind. He looks like Bruce Wayne, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could pull it off.
Are you guys, if you had to choose, would you be interested in seeing Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac, be the next Dark Knight?
Yes.
Will he ever top his amazing role as Apocalypse and
Always, every
X-Men?
movie.
He could be a great
possible?
Batman, actually, but he also could be so many of the villains. I could even see him be Clayface.
I think Clayface is one of the perfect characters you could have for a detective-driven Batman movie, because you never really have him being a detective. You have it kind of solving some things, but if you had a character that could shapeshift constantly, and he is as dashing as Oscar Isaac, and you can't keep track of where he's at, and Clayface's origin is so interesting too. It's it's an actor, a struggling actor who's just there's a lot of really cool elements you could do. Also, Hush is pushed a lot. Someone who looks a lot like Bruce Wayne, who's obsessed with him, and he basically uses all of his villains against Bruce Wayne. Could be a cool character too.
And so obviously he could do Two-Face and stuff too, right? But he could do. But I guess the point we're making is he could play any part, and I'd be pretty down.
Javier Dent?
There you go.
Yeah.
Who? Javier
Bardem.
Javier Bardem. That's what I thought you said.
So let us know what you think about Oscar Isaac as Batman. If Jake Gyllenhaal's not going to be playing the role, especially if he's going to be in Spider-Man Far From Home, could really be anyone. World is our oyster. But lastly this week, Venom star Tom Hardy announced that he and Sony might actually be making an entire trilogy of Venom movies. In an interview, he said, "I'm open to whatever you want to do with it. We've signed up for 3 of them, so it's very much
Tom, we can't understand you when you wear that."
Why? You have a mask on.
happy responses are to it.
No one knows what you're saying, Tom.
He said, "I think it's an awesome character. I love playing both of them. It's an amuse-bouche for Sony, and it's the Venomverse launched in isolation, as it were."
An amuse-bouche.
We'll tell you when you're older.
So what do you guys think? Does the idea of a Venomverse get you excited? Do you think it'll have subtitles whenever Venom starts talking?
Do you guys remember where they actually had to change Bane's sound mixing?
Yeah, they'd bring him in
so that he comes through every speaker whenever you're watching. It's just
he's
exactly.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a no-brainer for Sony from their perspective, right? They need a big franchise that's kind of all their own to make money.
How many times, though, have we seen a movie and the movie has set it up for a sequel, but the movie didn't do so well, so we never really knew what happened?
That's very fun.
You mean like Sony's
That's
last
exactly
big
what I was
franchise, like
thinking.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that had this big Sinister Six post-credit scene for a movie that never happened?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, I mean, to go back to when they first announced the Venom movie, I still have to like honor my feelings there. Where even though I've seen some cool stuff since then, it's like I don't really want Venom without Spider-Man, at least in like some huge way. I could definitely see them doing, you know, a more expanded Carnage-based storyline, which they supposedly are not doing in this.
Yeah,
Venom
he hasn't
movie.
appeared in any trailers yet.
But at the same time, it's like I don't know. I was never like in love with Eddie Brock as a character to have him be the home of a whole trilogy.
Yeah.
It's just so obviously Sony being like, the trailer views are good. Maybe this is our thing, you know? And they are good to their credit.
They're
like
good.
people are surprisingly pretty excited for this.
People also slow down in traffic when there's a car accident.
That's true. That's true too.
I don't think it's going to be that rough. I mean, we have a talented director, talented team.
Junket for this movie and kind
Yeah.
of subtly mention
boy.
that.
Yeah.
I think
You are like a psychopath.
Would
That's
you
where your head
consider
went.
this the car wreck
Yeah.
of Marvel movies?
Yeah. Mangled bodies are interesting to paint.
Oh, wait, thank God you one-upped me. I thought I was a bad person for a second.
You got No, it's like does it like what do? You have Carnage, so you have another turd mush monster, and then in the third
That's
movie,
what you're saying.
The turd
Was
bush
that the mush?
monster.
a moosh bush.
It's a moosh monster.
I always thought a moosh bush was like a buffet of like things you could
It's the
have.
first time I've ever heard of it.
And a moosh bush.
moosh
Everyone always
bush.
says it like that. It's a moosh.
They make Budweiser beer.
Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, when you're eating
no,
peanut butter.
It's like I don't know, but whatever. Come up with something, and we can have a pitch meeting about it.
I mean, I'm going to watch the first movie.
Oh, of course. But I like your point that like it's the whole reason why the Transformers movies never worked for me is like I'm lost. I can't. Is that aluminum foil zoomed in, or are they fighting? You know, like, but if it's just like oil and like red oil, and they're just blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What's it called when you zoom in, out, and it's just
Yeah.
tinfoil in a microwave. And you're like,
Vertigo.
oh wow, look at that, it's sparking.
Yeah. Well, let us know if they do pursue a Venom trilogy. I'd like to know what kind of villains you'd like to pursue beyond Carnage. Are we just going to go through some other symbiotes, or they're going to? Apparently, Sony has the rights to 900 Marvel characters. So really,
Think
we're
outside the
talking about
box.
any of the Sinister Six they could do. But I really have a theory that they're going with Sinister Six in this Spider-Man Far From Home. I think that's going to be why not?
Oh,
It's
because
gonna
there are
do
so many
much better.
villains that they keep talking about too.
They have great Spider-Man villains.
And with
in
Vulture
there.
I
coming
mean,
back.
also
Vulture back,
the characters count like when you say there's a bunch of Superman characters like Jimmy Olsen, and it's like that doesn't mean that they're all
exactly.
winners. Like
Yeah, sure.
They have 900 non-superpowered characters from the Marvel
yeah, we
universe.
got Aunt May, Uncle Ben, his parents, and you're like,
J. Jonah Jameson's managing director.
His son, he's an astronaut. I don't care. Please stop.
Those are characters.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our New Rockstars News Lightning Round. You guys tweeted us questions. I'm going to fire them at my co-hosts. We have to answer them as quickly and without hesitation as possible. Okay,
wizard,
starting
Harry.
with Filup. Pagarapapajawal wants to know,
That was literally how it's written. Yeah.
what have you never? What will you never?
2 questions.
What?
What have
Is this
you
a never
never-
have I ever?
What blank have you never, and what blank will you never? I guess thing, activity, or... Hey, I didn't come up with a question.
Help me figure it out.
Like, what have you never? Like, for example, I've never skydived. I've never... Yeah.
I've never seen snow.
And you will never see it.
Is that,
You've
is
never
that how this
seen-
question
That's the
works? Do I
part
have to
2 of the
commit to
question.
that?
There's 2 questions.
And what will you never?
Yeah, what's something that, like, I'll
See
never
snow.
do that?
I think you'll never cut off your own finger. Unless I'm
and
wrong.
if I get paid $30, I might. What will I never? I will never do a job I don't totally care about at all.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. That's a
Okay,
good, like,
yeah,
interview answer.
The
like,
word of the day is
my greatest
integrity.
weakness
Well, they
is
just
my
it
greatest
was just
strength.
kind of like this question was
It's
like,
an
hey,
interesting
Erik,
question.
what are you?
Yeah. There's
What
a lot of ways.
are
That's true. There are a lot of ways.
What
Blank?
are what be?
Yeah.
Go on.
Thank you, though.
It's kind of like some Yoda phrasing there for sure.
And how?
Maude, Cassie
me.
is cool 9 wants to know if you had to choose one of the dusted to stay gone, who would it be and why? Infinity War only.
Who did I not
Dust outside of Infinity War.
be upset about? Well,
someone we saw on screen, not just a random person who got dusted.
You mean one of those 2 dudes behind Nick Fury?
could I say Hank Pym?
You want him to stay gone?
I mean,
Yeah.
he had
Yeah.
a good run.
Yeah.
I feel least bad about that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
if it's a Hank Pym from the comics, he's done bad stuff too, so he deserves to be dusted. Yeah.
Sam, Hiking Natural wants to know, what is your favorite Stan Lee cameo?
Teen
good.
Titans Go to the Movies. It's an amazing cameo. It's like, it can't be a superhero movie without Stan Lee. And he like runs in and jumps on the front of a windshield and he's like riding down the street. It's amazing. It's such a good one. But from MCU, it's when he's with the Watchers and Guardians 2, where he's like
that's pretty
explaining all of his cameos. It's like one time it was a FedEx delivery man. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Wait,
that
that was
was lightning.
lightning. Yeah.
Yes, that's the point of the
Everyone
thing.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
All right, Eric, from @VidentShama619. For EA Voss, if you could be a villain from the MCU for one day, who would you like to be? And I'm going to add, and how would you use their powers?
Villain from the MCU?
Lightning.
Oh, Thanos, right? You could do so much. You get to be thick.
You get to be.
His number one power.
Just be thick. No, I'm leaving the gauntlet on the shelf, baby. I don't need that. Just to be thick.
You just go to
Look
the
in the
beach
mirror.
and you're just kind of like, hey, lady.
Yeah. Just
But I
butt
won't
up.
be pushy about it. Yeah. Hey, thanks for all your questions, guys. These were
got
some
a
good ones.
thick
To be
chin.
thick. That's the power. Hey, good aim there. Okay, now comes the time for a 15-second shout-out. So each of us has 15 seconds to shout out or plug, ramble about anything. Sam?
Yes, there's a Kickstarter that you should go check out. It's by Anki. It's for a little robot named Vector. And it's a little. The company's actually made a lot of different AIs that you could have in your home, but this is the first autonomous robot. It's like this big, and has a little tractor thing in front of it,
Very
and
cute.
it's adorable. And it can talk to you and actually recognizes faces and stores it. So if you come home, it'll say hi, and you can give it tasks to do, and it'll just kind of roam around your house like a little cat. Check it out, Anki Vector. Look it up and support it, because I'm gonna get one and I'll bring it in.
What kind
Yay.
of tasks are we
It'll
talking?
be a host.
Will it clean my room?
It will. It's like basically like Alexa, but it runs around. It has cute little eyes. I'll show you the video after.
Oh, okay.
The tasks are probably like, go from here to there. Yeah, but still
I mean,
very
I had a
And the
BB-8.
weather.
Change the weather.
There's a
Goes out on my
tornado
balcony
dancing.
and raises his little tractor, and lightning comes down.
Yeah, exactly.
For my 15 seconds, I kind of mentioned this last week, but yeah, if you live in the Los Angeles area at the end of this month, September 29th, at the Acme Theater in NoHo, I'm going to be doing a show called Infinity Fan. It's a parody sketch show that's about like Marvel and Star Wars and the DC universe going to make it in there, and Game of Thrones. Basically, the idea is, what happens if a super fan decides he wants to save every unfairly killed off character in his favorite movies because he believes he knows best on how to tell these stories? Would it be a good thing? Would it be a hilariously bad thing? Let's hope the former. You'll see more details. I have a big firm announcement, but I wanted to give you guys a whole sneak peek on it.
Big
Nice.
firm, thick announcement
firm.
coming your way.
Big announcement. Yeah. So I'm very excited about it. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVOS for all those details.
When the thick clicks.
My 15-second shout out, I have go see Searching. Super cool movie, John Cho.
cool.
It's not in every theater, but if it is around you, go see it. It kind of is a non-horror version of that movie Unfriended.
Yeah.
Which is not that bad, by the way.
Unfriended
Good movie.
is a pretty good modern horror movie, especially like a gimmick-based one. But this
Searching
is not
is
a horror
not.
one, so Searching's not horror, but it's just one of these ideas of like an execution, an idea of what would actually happen if someone you love goes missing. What is the actual work you would do? And I think they kind of had the realization you'd be on your computer basically for most of that time, and that was exactly like it really motivated the usage of that device. The whole movie takes place basically on a Mac screen.
Yeah.
But super great twist, super great storytelling. It's very, very fun. Go watch it.
My 15 seconds, we You'll find out on Geek Bomb tomorrow, but I'm just announcing that Fungeons and Flagons Season 2 is upon us. Fungeons and Flagons is a show that I do on Geek Bomb, which is basically like an introductory version of Dungeons & Dragons without any rules. So if you can dream it, you can do it as long as you roll high enough. Sam last time has been a big part of Fungeons and Flagons, and he has no idea how to play RPGs, and so it's really hilarious.
Thank you.
So I'm actually setting up the Patreon for that because you guys help me build the campaign. Choose monsters, items, selections, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, basically plugging not only my Geek Bomb channel, but Patreon. Yay!
Yay!
Patreon.com/
Geek
Bomb.
There you go.
And if people like really have trouble with hearing Geek Bomb in my accent, GEEK BOMB.
Geek?
Oh, BOMB.
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 What do you think they're hearing? Geek Bomb?
Geek GIK Bum. Geek Bomb. Yeah. Geek Bomb. It's like my name. I've gone from Maude to Maude. It's a damn different name. It's a whole new name.
Well, let's return to the trivia question this week that I talked about earlier. And a reminder, our punishment is the GIF of shame. Or GIF of shame if you're wrong. The wrongest answer to the question will have to draw a task or gesture from the GIF of shame container, which needs a better name. And they'll have to perform that task.
Container.
They're going to have to perform that task repeatedly where they are. And the winner will read our goodbyes, and the rest of us will chant shame at you. And your stupidity will be turned into an animated GIF, which we will blast out on social media to punish you for your trivia ignorance. Everyone good? Let's remind each other what the...
His nipples
what
are
the name of
distracting.
the word of the show is?
While he passes that out, I'll
Integrity.
read the question. So the question was, what was the name of Drax actor Dave Bautista's first wrestling character?
Bautista.
Question.
Eric seems to think it's Erik Bloodsucker. I'm sorry, Eric, you wrote your name on both sides. Erik Bloodsucker. Does he like Eric's blood? That's what he's saying. He likes your blood.
Because you did notice he has fangs. Right? That's what
Eric
he said.
Bloodsucker.
Whatever. It's not right. It's not right.
Sam wrote, I'm just Harry to be here.
That says those are two P's.
That's definitely two
Those
R's.
are how I write
You can
P's.
zoom in on that.
That doesn't make any sense. I'm just happy to be here.
You're just Harry. Yeah.
I am Harry.
You could be Harry today. How's Hogwarts going, my man?
Fimo says Dave Bautista.
Whoa.
He's a bad me.
I
feel
really
like
like Bad Mista.
that's a
If
good one.
Harry is in his name at all, I get a point. All right. And Maude wrote Crypt Keeper.
But I liked my initial one, if you don't
You
mind.
got it. You wrote
Oh, that's pretty good.
Dave and Buster. Pretty good.
It'd be good if it was a tag team.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
No,
And he
Dave
just-
and Buster.
And Buster.
Buster 6.
The little robot Buster.
The correct answer, let's say it together, is Leviathan. It's
Leviathan?
Leviathan. Yeah. What is a Leviathan? Is it
I thought
a...
it was a sea
A big
creature.
boy.
So I would have also accepted his other wrestling names of Batista or Deacon Batista.
Hi,
Deacon.
I
Deacon.
think you're closest to those.
Okay.
What did you say?
But Bad Mista.
Bad Mista. All right, so Filup got closest, and furthest away, and joining the gift of shame.
I'm just Harry to be here.
I'm just Harry.
Screw you guys.
Rather than
my bad, wrong one.
because these aren't gifts of shame.
Oh,
we need to
whoops.
more clearly mark the container. I think.
Which container? They all have different containers.
So many containers.
This
Rock
container.
containers.
That's
Hi,
Sam,
I'm
how many times
Eric
have you done
Container.
this?
One.
All right, so what?
Shush. The task.
Shame.
Pretend you're an ostrich trying to hide your whole body behind your mug.
Okay.
Okay.
There's your
Shame.
mug.
Shame.
There's
Any
your
your
mug.
the ostrich can't hold the mug. Maybe you gotta
That's a
help him.
microphone.
Well, maybe if you
Oh.
hold your mug up.
Shame.
If you hold,
Shame. I'll
an
hold it
ostrich
up.
There you
can't
go.
hold, I guess. Aw.
Shame.
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 No, they bury their heads. I got you.
Shame.
But
Shame.
you got no. Well,
Shame.
it doesn't go.
Shame.
There you go.
Shame, Harry, to be here.
I wonder what kind of GIF you would use, like what kind of conversation you'd be having to use this GIF. Me trying to escape all responsibility.
I'll throw it in when your coworker is trying to have a conversation with you and you hope he doesn't see you. And I was talking about Erik.
Shame. Maude, you want to take away our goodbyes while Sam does this?
No, it's
I never want it to end.
It's
though.
me. Thank you for watching.
Wait, take a listen. Go ahead.
You did the microphone? Yeah. All right. They're both hollow. Thank you for watching this week's episode of New Rockstars News. I want to thank our host, Sam Bashor at Sam Bashor, Erik Voss at EA Voss. Make sure to check out that sketch show if you're in LA. I'm Filup Molina at Fimo, and Maude Garrett, of course, at Maude Garrett. Comment down below about the stuff we talked about earlier and tweeted at us at New Rockstars and like this video and share it around. And I'm building up to something because really quick, I want to say we've got something excited coming like next week. And you guys were like tweeting me about it, like, oh, you're being so vague. And it's like, oh, well, maybe I am. But you'll find out next week. Subscribe to New Rockstars for deep dives into the stuff you love. Bye.
Sam's commitment is overwhelming. Who's Sam?
I'm going to have a big ring on my face when I lift up my face.
Show me.
He does.
Well,
One ring to rule them all.
Cheers.
Ding.
And
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
yeah.
Well done, guys.
Let's